is basic tile making. I went over how to stretch the clay. Pat it out and you stretch it. Now, with the properties of clay, it's platelets. It's similar to wood when it dries. So one of the problems about making tiles is that it will curl up on the edges. So one of the ways to try to prevent that is to, when you're stretching the clay, is to rotate it 90 degrees, flip it upside down, and stretch it. And that's, for this purpose, we'll just do a very, very small one. I will then put it on a surface where I can move this without disturbing the clay too much. I do have templates at home that are measured out if I'm going to do multiple tiles, and you have to calculate the shrinkage rate. This clay shrinks about 13 to 15%. What I normally do is I just stop here, let this clay stiffen up, and then I go in and clean all these out and use the sharp edge and get a really good line. When it's soft, you're just fussing the whole time. But you can clean that up a bit like that. And I just use very, very little, very small amount of water. You can use tools like this. Usually I use the one without the serrated edge. Smooth it out. And then you can apply your decoration. Now, doing this is going to smush the clay, so again, you may want to let it stiffen after the stage and clean that up. Now on the back side, and I usually do this again when it's harder, is you want a notch. So straight across is possible. This is something where you're going to want to have a little nail and hang this on. But what's good is if you can get a little undercut. So you take a tool like this and you can almost scoop it out there. Now, the two things you got to be careful of is don't go more than half the thickness of the clay, and when you cut in, make sure this isn't too thin because it will break very easily when you're trying to hang it on the wall. And then you clean everything up, sign it and do whatever, and in theory when you're drawing these things you want it on a rack, so the little metal rods, and they're flipped over and over, and professional tile makers can take a month or two just to dry these tiles. If they're just left here like this, they curl up on the edges. And for the students, we'll put 2 sheets of newspaper that when this clay shrinks, it will slide across to try to help it from actually warping. Good luck.